recording our breathing in and out, just letting ourselves settle down a little bit, empty ourselves out so that uh, the words and the teaching can come in. It's important. All right. Well, here's the poem du jour. It starts out this way. On this Sunday, before the frenzy we've come to call the holiday season, there's not enough loose leaf paper or ink to hold all that I'm thankful for. My parents, my family and friends, paper and pen, electricity, and a working flush toilet, eyesight, and the ability to draw breath. My gratitude is truly endless. Eventually, like cream rises, one thing rose to the top of my gratitude list this morning. That was my gratitude for my teachers. I'm so profoundly thankful for the many teachers I have met and learned from along the way. And I just sat here and thanked them one by one. As I did this, more cream rose to the surface, and a single truth they had all taught me became evident. I have learned and forgotten and relearned this core teaching dozens of times during the past 50 years. Humbled and ashamed to say, dozens of times I had to relearn this core teaching of all teachers from various traditions. It all seems to come down to this core teaching. You're either a transformer or a transmitter. One way or another, you either learn how to transform all your physical, emotional, and psychological pain, or you transmit it to others in particular and to the world in general. To live a human life is both blessed and wounded. To be both blessed and wounded. That's what it really means to be a human, to be both blessed and wounded. Just comes with the territory. Whenever you've been wounded, you do stand at the fork in the road. Will you choose the path of hurt or the path of healing? Will you choose to transmit your pain to others, or will you choose to transform your pain into love and compassion? I'm so profoundly thankful to have so many teachers point out this existential, fork in the road. Each of us is either a transformer or a transmitter. Comes down to that core teaching. And just sort of my prayer for this eve of the holiday season is, may each of you find a contemplative tradition that your heart resonates with. May all of us begin to walk together and continue to walk this true pilgrim path of transformation. May all of us begin to walk and continue to walk together this true pilgrim path of transformation. That's what came out on the page. Let me just open it up a little bit, and then we'll do a special kind of practice today. The frenzy of the holiday season. It's such an amazing 180 we've made out of holy days. Holiday came from the idea of there are certain days that are holy. And so we have a season of Advent, of the coming, not just a remembrance of something that happened a couple millennia ago, but just a season to consider the fact that there's something coming for all of us. There's a birth coming for all of us. Um, Independent of, whether you're a practicing Christian, whether you're raised Christian, whether you know anything about Christianity, or whether you even know the word Advent. There, we're celebrating. We're trying to consider contemplatively for about the next 5-6 weeks, the fact that something is coming for all of us, a kind of birth. None of us men have had that the experience of birthing a human child. Some of the women here haven't had that experience. Many have, but none of us, or all of us, let's say, are waiting for this birth of this divinity in all of us, that we can birth this divine part of ourselves, independent of any kind of religion it's in all the religions. It's in all the religions. And it's a tough season because we lost all that, and it's becomes, turkey and, pilgrims with hats, and then, hustling to buy presents. And all I know is every year, most of the people I work with, including myself, get stressed out because there's a lot of rushing around. And so I really want to concentrate during this time for you guys who show up week in, week out, on working with just that, working with just trying to keep our bearings straight during this season, and also work with all the pain that comes up. Mm-hmm. You're either a transformer or a transmitter of this holiday frenzy, of however it hits you. Okay. And we are on the hook to transform any physical, emotional, psychological pain. If not, we'll transmit it. And that happens when you're in the morphic field of the holidays in this country anyway, and through much of the Western world. It just, things speed up, stress mounts up. Well, sometimes it's psychological pain of people who won't be here for the holidays. Maybe your family, maybe somebody has graduated and they're not here in body anymore. They're not sitting at the table with you. So it's a very charged time. I think you all know that. I'm not giving you any news. The news I can give you today is maybe the way to practice through it, practice this transformation. It's a great time to practice this transformation. The whole thing we're celebrating is a transformation that's waiting to come to us, you see. So I think we should take it head on. And just to break open, one of the things they're saying is that you're going to transmit it if you don't transform it to others in particular. The reason we always hurt the ones we love is because they're the ones that are there when we're freaking out and we just can't deal with it. So we give them some of the pain, or we swallow it and send it in, to the hurt locker, but it'll come out sideways. We know this. I've known this for decades, and I'm trying to relearn it again this holiday season. Yeah. To be human is be blessed and wounded at the same time. And as a matter of fact, the word blessing, blessure, comes from the old French roots that meant the wound. So, there's a reason when the resurrected Christ showed up in images he had the wounds. The wounds are the grace needs a way to get in and get out of us. And uh, so the transcendent will use our own wounds, you see. So this act of having the wounds gives us a chance to become part of this process of transformation. Okay. And it's a pilgrim path, that path of deciding when you're hurt, when you're stressed, when you're lonely, when you're grieving, you can either take the path of hurt, which is somehow either hurting yourself, which is what I would do most likely. I'd swallow it, try to repress it, try to not pay attention to it, and and then that'll come out sideways, or you just give it to somebody else. So you either repress it or act it out. The third way is to find a way to hold it and transform it. We are the container here for this, and we can transform it. I mean, that's the message of all. It's a message of this guy behind me hanging on the cross, this extremely wounded guy. Interesting that would be the icon of his way. He uh, and then the other picture over here you can't quite see is the medicine Buddha. He's always in blue, and he's there to teach you how to do that. That's the idea of medicine. If you were here at the a little bit earlier than just at the last minute, you heard the Dalai Lama reciting uh, what's known as the Bodhisattva prayer, the Bodhisattva vow. And one of my great teachers, one of the great world teachers, and he says he recites this prayer. It's a prayer of transformation. He recites this prayer sometimes 100 times a day. So he even needs some reminding and some reinforcement, which is helpful for those of us who we forget. But he says he might recite this 100 times a day. He says, for as long as space endures, and for as long as living beings remain. Until then, may I too abide to dispel the misery of the world. That's a kind of mission statement for a bodhisattva. That bodhisattva just means you're committed to the transformative path, and you got to start with yourself, because if you're transmitting pain and suffering and misery, well, any confusion, then you're adding to the load of it in the world in general, as I say. So we start with ourselves. We start cleaning up our own self. We start transforming our own self, and then we become transmitters, sort of like personal hotspots, transmitting the energy of love and connectivity, of healing. You see, so the Dalai Lama is doing this work 14th time around. So you can cut yourself a lot of slack and just say, all right, well, let's dig in. This is the path worth walking. Now, what I want to focus on until the new year is cycling back into Tonglen, but doing a special kind of Tonglen, just Tonglen for ourselves. Let's just go back to square one. We're doing this. Tonglen is a practice of self-compassion, and then compassion for others. So I just want to work with the first part, because I think we can do more for the world if we are less stressed, more at peace, less a transmitter of stress and more a transformer of it. You go on to transform the world by transforming yourself. So I really want to sort of keep focused on this a little bit. And let me give you four kind of basic steps to this, this practice of self-compassion. I'm just going to give you 4 words, and then hopefully we can bring in one of my teachers to lead us on a guided a practice of this. But these 4 words of really how you transform the pain, they're key. The first one, acknowledge. So, and if you don't hit this one, you're just off your merry way doing your normal thing, but you acknowledge, all right, I'm really stressed. I'm really oh boy, there's a knot in my stomach. Sometimes you don't even have a concept. It's stress or it's tension or it's anxiety or it's grief. We don't necessarily get the concept first. Sometimes it's a bodily experience or just so um, lethargic. You don't want to get out of bed. You just want to pull the covers over your head. It could be it could exhibit or uh, show itself in a number of different ways. And so sometimes you could even just start with nothing more than your bodily feeling, even physical aches and pains, because it's a short step as you're getting older from aches and pains to a kind of, you know, so you acknowledge it, work number one, and then you allow it. Now, what the important thing about this, because you've got some kind of pain, physical, emotional, psychological pain brewing there, and then the second stage to allow it gives it space, and it falls upon the. You can't allow it before you acknowledge it. You see, so this is a progression. So you acknowledge it, and then you allow it. You give it some psychic space, and that's what meditation is for. There's compassion, self-compassion of Tonglen when you're doing it for yourself or another is strictly a form of imaginative meditation where you're using images and words and concepts to transform things. Okay. So space. And a lot of times we'll start with just before I try to bring my Irish teacher out of the uh, universe to you here. Hopefully, I can do it. If I can't, I'll wing it myself. But we'll just sit for a bit, just giving it space. That in itself, if you only have the first two words and the first two steps, you're going to be doing pretty good. Because think about this kind of emotion. It's like explosive potential to hurt yourself and others. Uh, and if you think of the Boston Marathon bombers, they packed all these things plus the explosive stuff. They packed it real tightly in the pressure cooker, which we become that pressure cooker. And if you took the same contents and spread it out over their living room floor, it would have had no explosive potential. It couldn't have hurt anybody. You see, so it's the sense that we get packed in on this and we get so closed in on it, and that gives it the explosive potential. That's the theory of making any bomb, you say. So the space, allowing, so acknowledging, allowing, and once you get that space going in there, then the third thing is you open. What opens is the heart. It just follows on. It's a little hard just to open the heart straight on. So when you say, all right, I'm really stressed, and then you give it some space, and then maybe your heart starts to open a little bit. That's all you need is a crack. All you need is just the tiniest crack of the heart opening a little bit because we have armoring over it against the pain. And just to sort of open that armoring just a little bit, just a chink. So open. So we acknowledge, we allow, we just evoke the openness of the heart. The heart is our ace in a hole. We're not curing ourselves. We're not transforming ourselves. This built-in transformer, we just have to access it. So you open it. So if you get that far, you're doing pretty good. If you're sitting there and your heart's open, you're with the pain. You've given it some space. Now the heart's opening. The fourth word, acknowledge, allow, open, would be then you enter. You enter with the breath because Tonglen always uses the breath. So now you can breathe in your own stress and then breathe right back into it on the out breath. Light, love, compassion, whatever it needs, depending on what you're suffering, you say. If it's an ache or a tension in the body, you send back on the out breath, light, love, and love is whatever form it needs, you see. You don't have to be specific. Sometimes it gets very specific, you know exactly what you need, but most of the time you don't. So if we acknowledged it, and we allow space to go around it, now we're starting to open our heart. The heart is the key to this because everything, when you're breathing into pain, goes into your own heart, and then you're breathing back some sense of love, relaxation, giving it a break, back to this part of yourself. You see, that's it. Acknowledge, allow, open, and enter. Now, if I can call up this, I'm going to bring in another teacher to help us with this, and then uh, tomorrow when the Monday morning poem comes out, today's poems will be there, but then I'll also have a link in there so that you could go back and work with this teacher as much as you need. So I think that is going to be very helpful. This guy's a really interesting teacher. He's an Irish Tibetan who is based at a monastery south of Cork, if you know Ireland, and there's a peninsula that goes out into the Atlantic Ocean, and it's on the this monastery is on the end of the peninsula. I've never been there, but this guy is a great teacher, and he's sort of like an Irish Tibetan Quaker because he's got this concept of inside you is the friend, this friend that can help you transform whatever knot is in your where however your panties are in a knot, let's put it that way. And so if we can we'll go to that now. Maybe we'll switch off the recording first, and we can start breathing a little bit. That's always good start for Tone Clan.